Hi guys, off the back of last month's discussion with private equity investors and venture capital investors, George and Lillian, I now have a successful founder. And when I mean success, I mean real success in international dollar million terms. And I have with me Eric Mwangi. Eric, I am so honored to be sitting next to a dollar millionaire. It's to say that.
I don't think so. I don't think so. No.
Eric founded a company called Fairbanc, which he then exited from in 2019, 2020, for a very good valuation, which he refuses to tell us. But in any case, we're here to talk to Eric. And Eric, you're going to tell us about how you got started in Fairbanc and your journey in investing and being a founder, and a founder that has exited successfully. So how did you get into Fairbanc? What was the idea? And what is Fairbanc?
Okay, so some background. Yeah, so Fairbanc was actually my capstone project in MIT.
Yeah. So you went to MIT?
Yes, I went to MIT. They had what you call democratization of learning.
Yeah.
Before we had all this LinkedIn learning, so MIT came up with that concept. So I was doing masters in fintech.
Yeah.
And we needed to do a capstone project.
Yeah.
And one of the things...
It's called a capstone project.
Yes, yes. At the end of it, you need to submit a capstone project.
So it's like your thesis or your...
Yes.
Yeah.
So back in my village, there's some loaves of bread I used to like. And
where is your village?
Njeri Wagacha.
Yeah, Gatitu.
Yes. So every time I would go home, I'd go to this shop and they had some fantastic loaves. And I would never get. And I never used to understand why.
Yeah.
So that was the basis of where Fairbanc was. How do we empower shopkeepers to understand demand?
Okay.
So it was a very, in my view, very basic concept.
So the concept was, let's equip them with knowledge about what the demand is so that they can then supply enough for that demand. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I was a lone founder.
Yeah.
And then once I started doing some background and research, I actually found out this is a really, really big problem.
Yeah.
I spoke to some classmates who partnered with me, Asians.
Yeah.
They had the similar problem in Bangladesh and Indonesia, where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
So I came down, down to Nairobi, and spoke to some mama and burger shops.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized this was a big problem. So I went the one vertical up, spoke to distributors. So distributors were having a challenge where they're supplying products, they're not being paid, and then they're not being able to repay the loans to acquire. So there's a whole issue of the value chain where you look at the NPLs, non-performing loans, especially for tier 2 banks.
Yeah.
A lot of it was distributors. Distributors are supplying products to shops and the products are not being sold. So there was a whole line of blind working.
Yeah.
There are distributors in this region who would fill trucks and send them, and somehow those products have to be sold.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my God, this can't be right.
Yeah.
And this, I'm talking about huge FMCGs.
Yeah.
So we came up with a concept of how can we be able, if we were able to guarantee products are going to be sold, would the distributors support that?
Yeah.
So we came up with a small pilot where we're working with $100, and not $100 in terms of cash, $100 in terms of value of goods.
Yeah.
And we could be able to understand if this mama burger will be able to sell these goods, then continue with that cycle. And it was so successful. And then we're going to scale it. So there was a challenge in the region, when I say in the region, East and Central Africa, because this was supposed to be where we were to do it.
Yeah.
I found there was lack of understanding of the scope of the problem. And I tried to speak to quite a number of tier 2 banks and distributors, while they acknowledged they were not willing to back.
They were not willing to back the project or the concept.
They're not willing to back the project. So I spent 7-8 months, conversations flying Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, and I was not getting anywhere. So we decided, let's move to Bangladesh. So Bangladesh has a huge success of lending, especially to women, where one of my co-founders actually came from. So we went to Bangladesh, and that's where now just everything opened for us. It was amazing, where I think because of that success of Mohammed Yunus, it was easy to sell that concept, and especially when we targeted women who have the same challenges that women have here, where it's patriarchal and everything comes to the man. And when we did the pilot there, women-led businesses, the default rate was less than 5%.
Okay, so just explain specifically how it worked. Were you giving distributors' information or the actual mama mbogas in Bangladesh's information? How did it actually work?
So what we did is all mama mbogas have inventories.
Inventory, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we did data science on that, so machine learning, and to be able to understand the variance, what is sold when and how. So when we process that machine learning, we could be able to see, okay, in this particular area, these are the products, and this is when they should be sold or when they should not be sold.
Okay.
So we developed something also called competitor analysis,
Yeah.
to be able to see what other shops are they selling. So from a distributor perspective, your product is disadvantaged in this particular area or this particular shop. So it's that kind of analytical view that we provided on behalf of Namamboga to distributors.
Okay.
So when we provided that, we're like, okay, we can be able to supply X amount of goods to this area or to these shops.
Yeah. So what they were purchasing from Fairbanc, is it the information?
So we build a platform.
Yes.
Yeah, build a platform where as a distributor, you have your login rights and you can be able to see what goods are being sold where.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you decide which one I'm going to...
We decide. So we provided guarantees to distributors. If you supply X amount of goods to these shops,
Using our platform.
because we're providing the knowledge,
Yeah.
the goods will be
Sold.
sold.
Okay.
Yes.
And that guarantee came to pass then?
Oh, it came to pass. One, women are good lenders. We found.
Yeah.
The rate was single digit.
I mean, women are good at everything, but anyway.
Oh well, okay, yeah. Let me not be controversial. So yeah. So it was really successful,
Okay.
where we were able to show the value, and what I really need to show here is it's providing that viewpoint that sometimes I think was lost, where a lot of them are just selling on hope. Where you wake up, say, okay, today I'm going to sell bread, but you really don't have a vision of selling. Why you need to sell that bread.
Of the units. That you
Of the
can
units.
sell.
For example, like Tesco
Yeah.
in
the UK.
when it's summer and the temperature rises to 2 degrees, automatically information is sell and increase supply of ice cubes because they understand people will sell. So why are we not giving that empowerment to Mama Mboga? That is the difference, where there is no analytical view, understanding of what they're doing.
I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what to tell you. It is such a good idea. And it's so simple because
Yes.
then you know how much of the product you can actually make, how much you can
Yes.
what you can sell, etc. I mean, it makes a complete sense.
Yes.
Fine. So you took that idea to Bangladesh.
Yes.
It was scalable.
Yes.
It was successful. And you managed to then exit from the business.
Yes.
But we'll talk about that later. But let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Who is Eric? Where did you start your life? What did you have aspirations for when you were starting? Were you always an entrepreneur? Did you always have ambitions to be a founder?
No. I grew up pretty normal. When I look back, I see I had a fantastic growing up. I'm very extroverted, outdoors, playing. It was nice.
Yeah.
And I'm very philosophical when it comes to these things. I think Occam's razor comes to mind.
Yeah.
Where the best way to understand things or the best understanding is the simplest.
Yeah.
I can't say I had ambitions. I was just growing up as any other person. There are people who say, yes, from when I was 5, I wanted to be a doctor.
You didn't have any ambitions?
No.
I mean, what did you think was going to happen?
I don't, at 7, 10, 12,
Yeah.
you're not thinking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about playing with my friends. I'm going to school. School, like now, I can tell you the kids who are happy schools were postponed. That's just kids. I'll let kids be kids. I think I think we look at these things from an adult lens.
Yes.
And that is where it fails. So put yourself as a 7-year-old kid. You're just happy to be with friends.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I grew up here in Kenya.
In Nairobi or
In Nairobi. But Gatitu back and forth.
Yeah.
So the thing about, I can say probably I wanted to be a pilot.
Yeah.
Purely because we live near Wilson Airport.
Okay.
Yeah, so planes would fly in and out. But I can't say there was that ambition. But I went to a high school where they offered aviation.
Which one?
Thika High School.
Thika High School.
Yes, so I did aviation in Form 1 and Form 2.
Okay.
But I dropped it.
And you didn't like it?
No, 2 years and we had never even seen the inside of a plane. So I was going more researching. I liked it.
Yeah.
I understood the principles, but
Yeah. You wanted the practical.
I wanted to go to an aircraft. So I dropped it and then finished high school, went to uni.
So what did you study at uni?
Marketing.
And by the way, I'm asking these questions because it's very difficult to find any information on you on the internet. Is that purposeful?
Oh yes.
It is.
Oh yes.
You've done the cleanup.
There was a lot of information during my Fairbanc days from 2016 to 2020.
Okay.
There was a lot.
Okay.
But I tried to
keep it
on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did marketing?
Yes.
Why marketing?
Again, it was what I thought when I looked at the units, what I thought was interesting. And again, like I said, I'm extroverted.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is something I think that I can do.
Okay, so which then makes sense because when you started your career, you were at Barclays in sales.
Yes.
So you knew that, I can talk to people.
I didn't know because when I applied just a job.
Okay.
And then I was like, okay, there's sales. I got in. It was a deep end because we were told, okay, hey, go and sell. So Barclays were trying to launch a new version of credit cards.
Yeah.
And this version of credit cards was to the local Mwananchi.
Yeah.
So not your corporate high flyer who understands. So it's trying to sell to people who literally were on that 10,000 Kenya shilling salary and below.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was difficult. And when I look back, I think that is one of the key moments in my life in terms of understanding people.
Yeah.
I now understand people very well. I understand moods, I understand eye contact, and it was through that interesting experience of being out there in the streets trying to sell a product nobody understands.
That is one of the toughest things that you can do, persuade someone to spend their money on something that is new. Okay, so you were in sales. What then happened?
So it went really well. It went really well. And then I met a friend of mine who was relocated to the UK.
Yeah.
So the UK, in terms of financial services, they were changing their IFRS from UK GAAP. This is an accounting...
GAAP.
Yes, GAAP. From UK GAAP to US GAAP, not to IFRS. So locally, they didn't have that capacity. So they were recruiting from Africa, from Asia. So there were quite a number of Kenyans, especially in the Big Four, who were going. So I asked myself, yes, I don't know this, but surely there must be an opportunity.
So you actually didn't understand the difference between UK GAAP and...
Then I'm not an accountant.
No, not an accountant.
Yeah.
But you were just like, I will just
give it a shot. So...
Gosh.
Oh, yes. So I quit. And I remember my manager asking me, Eric, come on, why are you quitting? I was like, I'm going to do my master's. And I was not going to do my master's. I was going to test it out.
Okay.
So I got a working holiday visa. So a working holiday visa gives you 2 years, one to holiday and one to work. So I went to a beautiful island called Guernsey.
Was that deliberate as well, just ending up in Guernsey, or did you know that that's where the jobs were? Was that
is where the jobs were, and most Kenyans were going.
Most Kenyans were going to Guernsey. Okay.
Yes. So I found myself there, and I bunked with some friends, and I was like, now I need to get a job. So in the UK, you don't apply. You go through agencies.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Recruitment agencies.
Yeah, you go through recruitment agencies. I didn't know that. So how I got my job is I went to watch a rugby game between Guernsey, where we were staying, and Jersey, which was the next island.
Yeah, the next island, yeah.
And I happened to talk to the partner of Odgers. And we just spoke about Africa, just randomly. I didn't know who he was. And he gave me his card. He said, you know what, call me on Monday. I'm like, okay. And because I did tell him I'm looking for a job. And I told him my background was sales in Barclays. So I went, got an interview, and the interview predominantly focused on, you remember that time during the 07-08 financial crisis?
Yeah.
And I wanted to find out how that was affecting them as clients. That is what the focus was about. So, and I got the job. And I sat here, and now we're doing, that's when I came across SPV, special purpose vehicles.
What was the job? It wasn't accounting.
No, fund administration.
Fund administration.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
I didn't know anything. And this is another thing I've come to learn is you can learn anything. You can learn. I think.
I don't know if you can. Anyone can learn anything. Maybe some people can learn something.
I'm a strong believer of that.
Gosh.
And I think that's where some companies fail and others succeed. I think there are other things that you can't teach. You can't teach attitude. So those to me are more important.
Yes.
Yeah. You can learn because, and that's one of the questions I ask. I'm like, I have never done
but
this.
Also, I think you need someone to be able to teach you, right?
Oh, yes.
So you have people who were there teaching you and,
They understood I'm coming green.
Okay.
These are the things I need to do. And there was the person who, almost like that buddy system.
Yes.
Is somebody who had lived in Kenya and South Africa.
Okay.
So he understood the culture very well and was slow in his paces in terms of understanding what I needed to do. Gosh. And I did enjoy myself.
Can you give him a shout out right now?
Jeffrey Nicole. You were nice to me. He was good. He was good.
Okay.
He was patient.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from that fund administration background, did you understand how funds are formed, what the LP structure is, the GP structure is?
Yes, I did vaguely. I was not doing that. A lot of it I was supporting him. He was doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I would go to some board meetings. A lot of that was just tax.
Yeah.
So I did go to some board meetings and I understood how some of these structures are formed.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. But it was not my thing.
Okay.
I was not getting that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed myself, but I was like, no, I can't do this for long. Luckily, remember, I had a working holiday visa, so it was only 1 year.
Yeah.
So after 1 year, I needed to move. I needed to leave. So I left Guernsey and I went to London.
How did that transition happen?
No, it was the same. I called a few friends. I'm like, I'm coming to London. I need to crash somewhere. And that's what I did.
Okay. All right. So you then end up in London.
I ended up in London.
Okay. What's next?
So I'm like, I need to get a job and I need to go to what I know.
Okay.
Banking.
Okay. So you went back to banking.
Yeah.
So yes, sales as well, or?
No. I went into payments.
Okay.
So we're doing a lot of data analytics, process reengineering. So that was nice and that was interesting. So we're doing the whole payments for Barclays and we're trying to re-engineer the process. Mm-hmm. So that was nice. That was interesting. I really enjoyed myself there. So how now that transpired was we used to have a lot of town halls. So they would bring different people to speak, footballers, founders. So one time this chap rocks up. It's called Travis Kalanick. Travis Kalanick is a founder of Uber. Embattled founder because they kicked him out.
Yes.
So he came and talked about the demand and supply marketplace. And I was fascinated. And this is talking about 2013?
Yeah.
2012, 2013. And I was like, that can't be possible because it was so innovative in how the future will be.
That was just when Uber had started?
Yeah, okay. That time was Uber Cab.
Uber Cab.
So it was only predominantly in the US. Now we're coming to Europe. Correct. So of course London is an entry point. Mm-hmm. So I sat there and I was like, okay, I need to find out a bit more. So after the town hall, I walked up to him and said, you know what, I'm really interested. Where can I learn this? So he said the US universities are doing a lot of, he called it new age learning. Yeah. Whereby we are looking at how people learn differently. So he gave me a contact of David Shire. David Shire was having this program in MIT, mm-hmm. where it was a compressed 7-8 months, almost like an MBA, but focused on technology. Yeah. We had the whole unit of M-Pesa. Yeah. Yeah. So I contacted him and I told him, what, I'll be interested. He was like, yes, you can apply for the next cohort. It was expensive.
How much was it?
$62,000.
Gosh.
It was expensive.
It's nothing to you.
No. Just joking. No.
I'm just joking. Okay, so you decided, let me go and do this master's.
Yes, it was decent learning. So with 2 weeks, yeah. Okay, yeah. I think every 3 months, 2 weeks in campus. Mm-hmm. So now I'm in HSBC, and in the UK it's easy to get access to funds. So I got a credit card, and that's how I funded.
So you paid for it with a HSBC credit card?
Yes.
Gosh.
Just slowly, just every time. And it did work. Yeah. It did work. And what happened is I was immersed fully in the world of technology. Yeah. And the ecosystem that I didn't know existed. And that is where now this bug for tech got me.
Okay, so from that MIT course is where your thesis on demand and supply of goods and the inventory list and Fairbanc then was born.
Yes, that was it. The idea was challenging because people were having very, very, I would call it complex ideas, mm-hmm. and I was very, very scared. I was like, I don't have this.
Because seemingly yours is very simple.
Yes.
Let's just give them the list of what is in demand and then you can supply it.
And there's a lesson to that where it's solving everyday problems for everyday people.
Excellent. So when you then set up Fairbanc, and was it just you, and then you got? It was
just me, and this is one of the things I think, especially as a startup founder, you need to have believers. Yes. If you don't have believers, then I think you're not going.
Who were your believers?
My classmates.
Okay.
Yeah. So because we all pitched to each other.
Okay.
And so guys came, like Eric, this can work in Bangladesh, this can work in Indonesia. Okay. That's just what I wanted to hear.
Let me ask you a question. From your class and the ideas in that class, were you the most successful?
No, there are two others who did something to do with blockchain.
Yeah.
And they've done pretty
Excellent,
big,
excellent.
especially in American banks.
Oh, amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. So that class generated something, new technologies and innovation that was not there before.
So remember that the class itself was innovative.
Was innovative
Yeah.
itself,
So you have to think of it from that, where we are solely focused on technology. We're not doing organizational behavior. We're not doing those things. We had a unit on well-being. What do people do in terms of when things are really heavy? So, but it was solely focused on technology. Yeah.
Okay. So you set up with your classmates.
Yes.
And how did you get investors to believe and give you money, or angel investors or seed investors to give you money in the Fairbanc?
So you this is a way when you're looking at especially people to partner with you, you need to address where the key gaps are.
Yeah.
So the key gaps were we need a data scientist. Mm-hmm. So that person is going to build a platform and they don't need to be paid. Mm-hmm. So that is one of the things. So I think there's a trap a lot of founders find themselves in when they're thinking about investors' money. If you are transformational, really, the transaction will follow.
Okay.
And that's how we built. And it was purely from scratch savings. And it did take some time, but we had addressed a key component in terms of the people around us, where we didn't need to pay a developer. We didn't need to pay somebody who's doing sales, which was me. So we had plugged those gaps. And most importantly, it's important to have partners or founders, co-founders, who are within your age profile.
Okay.
You understand life the same.
The same way.
Yeah.
And you're both striving to be
Yes.
to go to the same goal.
Yes.
Okay, so something that you said that is very important. Your role in that company, in Fairbanc, was sales. So building from your experience in sales, you knew exactly how to deal with people.
Yes.
And how then to attract them into believing into your data that the platform essentially.
Yes. If you're not selling, there's nothing you're doing. It's such a key component. Now I know you can have the fantastic product. People don't understand things. People understand description
of things.
Yes, there's a big difference.
Gosh, I mean, it's so fascinating. So how many years did you take to scale Fairbanc to the point where you were ready to say, listen, I need to exit?
4 years, 5 years.
I mean, that's a very quick turnaround.
No, COVID helped.
Okay.
COVID helped.
How did COVID help?
So when COVID came, and by this time we're already trialing it in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
So Indonesia, Myanmar, Colombia, Cambodia.
Yeah.
So when COVID came, remember, everybody was locked up.
Correct.
But a lot of these mamambogas, in this case in Southeast Asia, still needed to be able to sell their products. So what we used to do is we understood now how we can be able to be able to supply this online, and the online aspect came alive because of COVID. Where before, yes, quite a number of distributors still were coming, but now with COVID, it became predominantly online, and now that's when Unilever really started getting interested in it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Unilever then acquired a stake in your business, or
Yes.
they acquired
They acquired
majority stake?
So they acquired my shares.
Okay.
Yeah, by Unilever Asia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that you're a millionaire,
No.
how? Okay. When you were thinking about the exit, what was the comfort that you got from exit? Because it's your baby. At the end of the day, you developed it, you born it. It was a thesis that's now, obviously been successful. How did you decide that it was time to pack up?
So a number of things. I was domiciled in Asia, Indonesia.
Oh, so you were actually living there
Yes.
now at that point?
We're living there. And it came to a point where I couldn't see beyond where we were. So, and I think there's some importance to be able to understand that. That frankly, this has grown to a point where I can't see beyond. So you become, when you're there, you just become a stumbling block. And then, of course, I wanted to get back to family because I was living in that jurisdiction. Like, now I'm not enjoying it anymore. And that was what was a cue. Okay. So even before they came in, I was actively looking to get out.
Okay.
Yes.
Now that you've exited, how do you feel about the experience? What have you learned from that experience?
The experience was amazing, and the thing about what I call hyper
Specificity, yeah.
Yes. So be hyper focused on one thing, and it's important to be to believe in yourself and have people who believe in what you're doing. So I think what I find sometimes founders getting trapped about is you want to be like others. And I do see people saying, I want to do this. Remember, X has done that, Uber has done that. But I don't like that. I think it's important to believe in yourself and what you were doing.
Okay. Now that you've exited, I mean, it's impossible to think. You also have a day job that you've been doing.
Yes.
You also are now invested in FINGO. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yes. So after exited, there's something called post-exit crisis.
What is that?
You don't know what to do next. So the past 4 or 5 years, I've been focused on this startup called Fairbanc, and all of a sudden there are a lot of things you can do, but you can't. You don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Again, COVID helped. Otherwise, if COVID wasn't there, I don't know what I would have done. So it helped me refocus because we couldn't really move. So my day job now is Capita. So what I lead transformation and innovation. So what it
Capita is in London. Right?
Yes, Capita is in London. It's a consultancy.
Yeah.
So our biggest clients are government.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we are establishing learning environments to address key critical business capabilities.
Okay.
So we come with our team. Typically takes 1 year, and we understand what the issues are, or they help us understand within the business. We do discovery. Now we're doing discovery of a certain client to understand what those problems are, and then just that discovery phase, map the as is, and then ask clearly what I ask. If you had a magic wand, what would that be? And then define it. So it goes beyond professional, social. It's just a different way of learning and enhancing capability to drive solutions.
Gosh.
So it works.
I mean, it must work, but it takes an enormous amount of resources for that to happen at a very high level.
Oh yes. The stakeholder collegiate alignment is critical.
Yeah.
Without that, you can't work.
And what is doing a 9 to 5 when you've just been a founder in a business? How does that compare?
It's also 9 to 5 because we're outcome based.
Okay.
We're outcome based. Now I know we finished discovery. We're going now to the design phase. It will take 3 months. Now we're understanding what design should be. So how that happens, where that happens, there are people who work at night, people who work during the day. So it's outcome focused, and I think that's the way it should be. So it's not 9 to 5.
Not an hourly rate.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So I want to talk to us about FINGO as well. You're an investor in FINGO. Tell us what it is and why you believed in that particular investment and the founder, I guess.
Yes. So FINGO is a neobank. I'm not a founder. I'm an investor.
No, I'm saying you believed in that founder.
Yes.
In order for you to make the investment. Correct?
Oh yes. So I'd seen the trajectory of neobanks in Europe, certainly Revolut, Monzo, and a lot of banks were going through that way. So one of my classmates became he was a former CEO of Marcus. Marcus was the neobank of Goldman Sachs.
Oh, okay. Neobank of Goldman Sachs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is something that is interesting. And I kept having my eyes peeled, especially in the region. So I'm pretty much engaged in the ecosystem of the UK from a tech. So I was introduced to the founders of FINGO. And that time it was a deck. Mm-hmm. We want to do a neobank, and even before the call, I knew I was going to do it. So yes, because I'd already seen that trajectory of other neobanks and how successful they had come.
Yeah.
And even speaking to my old contacts of HSBC, they were thinking of forming a neobank themselves. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like this is something that is overdue, especially in the market. And when I spoke to the founders, having worked in Barclays years ago, the current account had never been, it was just the current account I knew when I was young, still
the current account, yes.
So, and then there was that issue of saving, especially among the youth. So those are compelling reason. And then I liked the guys. I was like, these are people I can work with.
So, sorry, the concept of a neobank is what? What is it, the difference? Is it just the online aspect? Why do you think neobanks, as opposed to the bricks and mortar, are going to be scalable?
So the target for neobanks, especially in FINGO, is under 35s.
Under 35.
Under 35s are different. They're phone fast. So it's digital fast. But beyond digital, if you look at our app, it's very emoji heavy. So it speaks to the way they do their day to day. And then most importantly, you can do analytics, you can do savings bots. And a lot of these are things I think the younger people do not understand. And even just thinking about ourselves when we were younger, we really didn't understand that financial knowledge. You actually almost make it up as you go.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is what he's trying to address, where you can be able to own a property, you can be able to own XYZ, and now the app helps you to achieve those goals.
Savings goals, etc.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so from your experience, Barclays, HSBC, Fairbanc, FINGO, Capita, tell us what has been the highlight of your career so far?
The highlight is definitely Fairbanc. Yeah, because I don't think I thought it would go where it went.
Yeah.
And what taught me is the simple solutions are the ones that need solving. Sometimes when I go to these startup pitches or even speak to people locally, some very, very complex ideas. I'm like, how I can't even get my head around it. And that is why you have that issue of investing, where it's very shiny, very, very, very complex, and there's really no scope for growth.
Yeah. Can you pinpoint like a highlight point? You know, like one of the things that happened that you thought, here, I'm in a good place.
When investors started following us.
Yeah.
So would go and just pitch to investors. And now investors there are different types of investors who invest in Africa, who invest in supply chain Africa, who invest in insurance. So you need to understand which investors are doing what. So we got a number of investors, 500 startups, for example.
Yeah.
And they were really good. They almost were saying, you know what, we need to come in right now. And by that time, when we didn't even have any governance in place, like we were just building this thing, and there was of course immense trust amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
So, but we didn't have the basics. I'm like, okay, we need to start putting this in place, and I think that is important. Without governance, it's very difficult to be able to attract this kind of funding.
A lot of people that I talk to on the podcast are extremely focused. They have had a career plan. They've known what they wanted to do in life. They've achieved a certain level of success.
Yeah.
You seem to have achieved a certain level or an immense amount of success without really a game plan. What is it that drives you internally? Is it like a super self-belief? Is it risk-taking?
So there's something called superior discontent.
Superior discontent?
Yes.
What is that?
So I'm able to stay in the trenches longer than most.
Really?
Yes.
Is that an uncomfortable place to be?
No. So then I'd park. If we need to do a report today, to pitch tomorrow for $50 million,
yeah,
I would want to be with people who we will sleep on the floor and make sure it's done.
Okay.
So it's that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think people do not highlight the element of luck. I don't think you can go through your entire career without luck.
But isn't luck, I mean, people always say luck is preparation meeting opportunity. Yeah. Isn't that luck? Or you think it's like some supreme, divine intervention?
I don't like unpacking after the fact. And I think most people do that. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm successful because I used to wake up at 5, I used to run.
Yeah, people do that. Because they think their discipline is what has taken them to where they are.
No, of course, you need to put the work.
Yeah.
You need to put the work. But sometimes, remember, you're not the only one putting the work.
Yes, everyone else.
Yeah. Everyone else in class, in where you work, everybody's putting the work. But I think sometimes there are elements that are hard to explain, where opportunity, I could get on the lift going, and I talk to whoever is there and we connect, and it has happened before.
Yeah. How
do you explain that? That's luck.
Yeah, I guess it is luck, and there have been lucky moments also in my life where I think that it's just been that,
you were just there.
Yeah, I was just there.
You can't explain it. You can't explain, and I think sometimes, especially when you want to inspire younger people, mm-hmm. I think this very regimented way, in terms of almost military-like,
is not.
I don't think. I think it's important to do the work. I think discipline is very important, but I think sometimes I don't think life is that structured.
Yeah.
I personally don't think so.
I mean, and definitely it's been working for you.
No. We are here to scratch the surface. I mean,
I love that. So we're even yet to scratch the surface.
I mean, the future is yet to be defined.
I like it. I like the idea that there's certain things that you still don't know and are not in control of.
Yeah, and it's important to acknowledge.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So now, if you were to say, there's so many people out there who have an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. It may not be an MIT idea. It may be an idea in their backyard. What do they do next? You're a founder, you have an idea, you want to scale it. What do you do in this region specifically?
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of, the ecosystem is vibrant.
Yeah.
I have to say, I think you need to put yourself in that space.
Yeah.
But most importantly, as a founder, you need to have believers. It's very difficult for you as a founder, for anybody to take you seriously if you're just alone. These believers are your friends, people you work with or people who understand what you're doing. I think that is the first step. Get yourself aligned to people who believe in you, then start building. It's important to address the critical skills. You need a developer if you're building anything tech. So you need to address this very early on. So you need somebody who can be able to build. That way it helps you in costs, as opposed to once you're a startup and you're thinking about, I need to raise funds. No.
Yeah. The other interesting thing is that you from what you've described at Fairbanc, you had an idea.
Yes.
So you knew what the bricks and mortar of that idea would be.
Yes.
But you're not the actual developer of that. So even if you have an idea and you can now partner with a developer, that developer is equally as important as you in the business.
Yes.
It becomes your co-founder.
Yes.
How do you know that you're aligned in other things? Because it takes more than just the idea and the tech or the skills to be able to build. You need to be able to have a rapport with your person.
So those value systems are important.
Yeah.
So when you're getting co-founders, I mean, there are lots of people who are skilled, but can I hang out with this person?
Yeah.
You understand? So to me, it's those what I call critical non-essentials that are
critical non-essentials.
Yes.
And is it the same thing with an investor? Because there's a tendency for founders to be like, I really need the money. I don't care where it comes from. And they take any offer that they're given. What were your non-negotiables in terms of the investors that you guys partnered with? So
we had a roadmap, and this is where business case comes in. We knew exactly what we wanted and when. So we knew we needed X amount and it's going to give us a runway of 18 months.
Okay.
Then after 18 months, we're going to raise again. This 18 months maybe was going to be, we're going to build a platform, we're going to market. So you need to be very, very clear. So usually what happens is when the investor comes, the investor is so much ahead or so far ahead in terms of understanding where this could be than the founders. Mm-hmm. Then there's a friction there. And then I think, in my view, the longer you wait for investors to come in, the better for you.
The longer you wait for investors to come in?
Yes, the better for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because once they come, things change pretty quickly.
And how did you manage that? Because investors want control of your business. They want to open the books. They want you to be aligned to their perfect theory of where the money should go. How do you control that? So
those are non-negotiables. This is what we want. And I think you need to separate from getting the money to what you believe in. Because remember, it's your baby. It's your belief. And for them to be there at the table means there's something here. So you have the power, even though it may not seem so, because they know or they can be able to see that roadmap. Yeah. So it's you standing your ground. And again, back to the business case, back to that roadmap, understand what exactly do I want. And then it's important to understand, especially how you need to value or how you need to, the kind of shares you need to have at every round. So don't dilute yourself. That learning.
Don't dilute yourself. Yeah. That learning, and I guess the other thing is a lot of founders don't have that information of what is pre-seed, seed, Series A, Series B, and what that means for them. Where did you get that? I mean, you went to MIT. I guess you had that knowledge base. How can founders get acquainted with that kind of understanding?
I think that's where now, especially big business in this case needs to come in. I think there's a gap there where that information is not being shared. Yeah. I mean, like in London, a lot of these big corporates, whether it's Apple, whether it's the law firms, whether it's PwC, they do have sessions where they're speaking to founders about XYZ. So I think there's a gap that needs to be addressed by corporate, certainly.
Yeah, so we do. So, for example, for our law firm, we do training on what it means to be a founder and how you can be, more savvy about what kind of investments you get into. Yeah. Okay, fine, understood. In terms of the type of industry that people should be looking at, or where you're looking at as an investor these days, aside from FINGO and fintech, what else are you looking at that is interesting to you and scalable?
The easy trap will be AI.
Yeah.
But I think it's a buzzword at the moment. So for me, I'm interested more in privacy. So privacy is yes, it's an interesting space. Mm-hmm. We're looking at now. We're going to go into the era of what you call deep fake as a service.
Deep fake. What does that mean?
I can create you and saying, "Can you give Eric XYZ?" And people have been caught out. So we will have a lot of that. And remember, half of the world's population went for elections this year. So we are yet to see in the big US and of course the UK, and you will see a lot of that. And that will almost usher the era of deep fakes. And
is that a question of like authenticity or authentication, whatever that word is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
So for example, I went to a media conference in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And they were quite interested in how do you authenticate deepfakes and how do you monetize it.
Yeah.
So for example, there are videos of Nelson Mandela coming out of prison.
Yeah.
And they are owned by, I don't know, whichever media house shot it.
Reuters or whatever. Yeah.
So somebody can create that deepfake
mm-hmm.
and ride on it.
Mm-hmm.
So how do, in this case, let's say Reuters, how do Reuters get monetization because somebody has created a deepfake of a product that they own?
So you're saying that they would be selling that same video to other publications or whatever, saying that they're the originator of it.
Yes.
Okay.
Or I mean, just you can monetize on views on
TikTok or something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
So how do the owners and this is important for content creation. Content creation really will set the trend of where technology AI will go. So I'm quite interested in what that space is, and for me, privacy is something we need to understand, but also I think we need to redefine what privacy is. Because now we have new AI, we cannot come up with what we understood privacy was before. And I think that is where you're having issues where people are saying, "Oh, this is not legal," but because it's apples and oranges.
And how do we contextualize it for this market? For Kenya or for East Africa in general? Because that what you're talking about is advanced for the common person. Is it in business? Is it in, where is it?
Yeah. So from a local perspective, I think we need to go a few steps back and create the infrastructure. Mm-hmm. I don't think we have that infrastructure, and I don't think we have the governance that addresses that infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we need to build that first. And I still think AI will come or will affect this market. Well, I see the market Africa pretty late.
Yeah.
Only about 30%. There's a paper that was written by IMF. They don't think AI will have that much effect, especially in developing or emerging markets at the moment. But again, it's you see, we lack data. And so we need to build this first. So
is data then the next source of investment?
We need data. I mean, again, just in the case of investments, if an investor is coming in, that data usually is lacking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. All right. What advice would you give to a founder now in this local market for the local context as to how to go about getting an investor and making sure that investor is someone who sticks for them?
So one thing is build local, find local solutions, and I think there's that trap of building for investors. Mm-hmm. I think you need to build for transformation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The simpler the idea, the better. Build to change, build to transform. The investors will come.
The investors will come.
Yes.
Okay. You know that in this, 2023 was horrible for venture capital in Kenya specifically, but also in East Africa, where there is a lot of traction.
Yes.
Or has been a lot of traction. A lot of founders have been, accused, for the lack of a better word, of misappropriation of funds, not mismanagement. What is your view on all of this?
Some of these solutions, I find, especially some of the startups that have gone belly up and VCs, I don't think you can import value proposition from the West to here.
Okay.
A classic case is food. We are a social economy. We sit together and share. So when you're coming when you're trying to come up with a startup that I can order food and eat in my house, that doesn't make sense.
Okay.
It makes sense in the West,
Yeah,
but it doesn't make sense here. You're not creating any value. You're actually destroying culture. That's why some of these startups fail. And back to the point, especially from a VC perspective, is that lack of data. We need to be able to build our own data to be able to understand where these gaps are.
okay.
Yes.
All right. So basically what you're saying is that because the idea itself is Western and not local, it doesn't advance transformation, and therefore is likely to fail.
Yeah, it is likely to fail, and that's why some of these startups have failed, because we are not that economy yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And for the future, what do you see? First of all, what is your life philosophy? Because you said it's not over yet. The story has
Yeah.
written,
So
finished.
So the future is yet to be defined, and I need to be there.
And you need to be there.
I need to be there. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you'll be present.
I will be present. I will be present as we define that future. What that future is, no one knows.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to get into advice that you have, like your day-to-day routine.
Yeah.
Are you one of those? And I know now you've told us that discipline, etc., or regimented ways of working is not necessarily your cup of tea. What do you? Are you very flexible on? Do you wake up at early? Do you what kind of routine?
I will give you a parable. And this is how
I love a parable. Yeah.
I look at it. So in Siberia years ago, centuries, there was this farmer who woke up one day and found 2 wild horses on his farm. Then his neighbor said, "Oh wow, now you're no longer going to be plowing with your hands." He said it could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. And then when the son was riding, the son fell and broke his hand. Like, oh, now who's going to help you plow? Said, no, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. And then the army was recruiting all boys of a certain age. So the boy did not go to war. The neighbor was like, oh, you're lucky. Like, no, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. That's how I look at life. I think we tend to oversimplify or overcomplicate life. I look at it as it is, and it will move on. So that is how I live. I don't tend to dwell whether it's success or failure. That's how I live. So in terms of how I look at things is, for me, I look at what helps in my endorphins. So I'm looking over when is my next holiday. That becomes my marker. So whether it's 3 months, whether it's 6 months, work will be work. Work will always be there. But I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, I like that. The idea of having something to look forward to, I like that. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I like the parable as well. And in terms of your failures, yeah, and dealing with stress or dealing with times where things have just gotten out of hand, yeah, how do you deal with that?
So there's something in the UK. A friend of mine started. Can't use that word.
What do you mean you can't use that word?
Yeah, it's because that's the word it's used. So
it's a rude word.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a curse word, but it's a platform where people highlight failures.
Okay.
So what in your life exactly, like you've asked, have you
messed up?
Yeah. And it's really amazing. Now you can see some institutions. Certainly, I know a professor in Wharton published his CV of failures, things he's done.
Yeah.
And that to me is important to be able to show leg. I find sometimes people who are really successful don't show enough leg. And when you listen to these nights, they're called nights, mm-hmm, it's amazing how much people are going through failure. And that to me is what...
Where can people listen to this?
Because they're normally live, it's not recorded.
Oh, it's live.
Yeah, it's recorded. People come in a room and we have 3 people and tell us your failures.
Oh wow! So it's actually people getting to. Okay.
So it's an ecosystem. Yeah. So the way people can come and talk about.
Oh, I like that idea.
It is amazing.
I mean, that's a scalable idea. If any.
Well, yes, it is. And to me, even now, when people come and I'm hiring, I'm more interested in things just that haven't worked.
Yeah.
Because the CV is all glossy, things you've successfully done, but it's that other side to me that helps me understand.
Yeah.
Grit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is your grit? Where do you get your grit from?
I look back at sales in Barclays, going in the streets, speaking to 100 people cussing you. I have very, very, very fond memories of that experience. At the moment, I did not realize it.
Yeah.
But now I look back and sometimes I ask myself, and it has to be that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Eric, thank you so much. You've been such a great guest. I do have quick fire round questions for you that I want to get us to know you better.
Okay.
I mean, you've been one of those guests where I really haven't had to do much because you've really given us a lot of information. I mean, such gems, and congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
I think you speak very eloquently. Behind that belies incredible intelligence. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so the quick fire round: beach holiday, city holiday. You like holidays?
Yes, beach holiday.
Where?
Cartagena.
Cartagena.
Yes.
And where is that? Is it Spain?
No. So Cartagena is Colombia.
Colombia.
Yes.
Does that sound like
It's amazing. So Cartagena is where El Chapo's based.
Really?
Yeah.
I should know that from Narcos, right?
Yes. I visited there. It's an amazing place. It's an amazing. So that circuit, especially Venezuela, Colombia, is really coming up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Apples or oranges?
Apples.
Why?
Because they are not the messy.
Okay.
Yes.
Pizza topping of choice?
Cheese.
Cheese, just plain.
Just plain cheese.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. And favorite drink? I think I know this one.
I prefer any Islays.
You said that, and I didn't even know what an Islays was.
So Islay is a place where certain whiskies are brewed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's the Highlands of Scotland. So any Islay, any whiskey that is brewed on Islay on that part.
That's
called Islays. Yes.
Amazing. Eric, you've been a fantastic guest on this podcast, and thank you for teaching us so much. Congratulations again. You are a shining example of a founder, and a successful one at that. Keep investing, and come back.
Oh, absolutely.
Let us know what else you've invested in.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for having me. This was amazing as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, everyone.